Hello and welcome to National Park Wild. I'm Eric, and in this video, I will be reacting to not an entire ranking of national parks, but the top 10 national parks in the US. If you look up top 10 national parks, chances are this article will be the first thing you see. So I wanted to analyze whether or not the results that they give are ones that are really good enough to be on the front page. If they're giving some misinformation maybe, I doubt it, but we'll see. I'll give my input on whether I think the rankings make sense, and whether they really captured America's national parks in the list. Let's begin. So I see number 1 is Yosemite. That is fine. I think Yosemite is among the very best for sure, and in a lot of ways, it is possibly the most iconic. Not the most visited for sure, up there but not quite. But it is an absolutely beautiful place, and the whole thing they give here about the waterfalls and the hikes. Yes, Yosemite is pretty hard to beat. I see belongs on list here. I think I'm going to put yes and see what people say. I guess it does not tell you. Alright. But anyway, no complaints about Yosemite being number 1. It definitely deserves it, and a lot of people would probably agree directly with the number 1. Now Yellowstone at number 2. Personally, Yellowstone is my number 1, but I cannot complain with it being here. It just has so much diversity and I love everything about it. That's the main reason why I would put it higher. But yeah, this is great. Yellowstone is among the best national parks. It's probably the most well known outside of maybe the Grand Canyon. So it's no surprise it would be on the main, most well known list of top 10 national parks. And I see right below it, we have Glacier. And Glacier I think is very close to Yellowstone for me. And in terms of natural scenery alone, it might take the edge. It has some beautiful places. Now I will say, I think the fact that Trail of the Cedars and Iceberg Lake are the 2 listed on here as trails is a bit interesting, because I feel while Iceberg Lake probably deserves to be one of the recognized trails, most people would probably want to learn more about Highline or Grinnell Glacier or Avalanche Lake, which is a larger part of Trail of the Cedars. So I'm thinking maybe this is not the best representation of Glacier's hiking trails, but overall, its spot being up here, that's fine. Grand Canyon at number 4, continuing to have pretty much no issue with what's on here. I think every park been on here so far is in my top 10. And yes, Grand Canyon has all the stuff listed here, though I will point out it's a bit interesting they talk a bit more about the concession tours and not as much about the difficult hikes. They mentioned rafting Colorado River and they say difficulty changing and hikes and all, but I think they might be trying to push you more to stay in the hotels and then do pre-planned tour guide type stuff, which is fine. But I do notice that seems to be the main viewpoint of this article as a whole. Maybe that'll play into the future rankings. Now Zion at number 5, no complaint there either. I would put it 1 spot above Grand Canyon personally, but it's way up there for best national parks, and top 5 is excellent. And I like this description here a lot. Paradise for thrill seekers, they really do go all in for Zion. I guess Grand Canyon is seen as a bit more of an accessible vacation type thing, so I can see why they would focus more on the challenging hikes and such for Zion, and I'm very glad they did. So, props to that person who wrote this. Now we have Grand Teton at number 6, and once again, I think this was probably outside of my top 10 by a little bit, but very happy to see it on here. It is wonderful. The mountains are great, the wildlife is strong, and there's a lot of excellent hiking, so I look at what's listed here, and yeah, that's pretty much all the stuff I would want to see highlighted. The one thing I do feel they should be putting in here is that you should do a Snake River float trip, or at least something on the Snake River, and a bit more mention of specific trails outside of Cascade Canyon, because that's one great one, but there is more to the park. And I don't know if the visitor center is really one of the top things for me. But overall, a good description for sure. Bryce Canyon National Park in Utah coming in at number 7, that's also a good ranking. For me, it's probably around 15, maybe close to 20. It's definitely among the best national parks, and I'm happy to see it as the second best Utah park on here, that's fine by me. And this is a good description. They go into the geologic history, they talk about the size of the park, which I think is kind of funny because it's among the smallest national parks actually. And I do like this a lot. The snow-covered landscape mentioned is a very nice touch. This is probably the best written of the opening introduction descriptions so far. Now we have Rocky Mountain National Park at number 8, and that's probably right around where Bryce Canyon is for me, and among the most visited national parks for sure, so I certainly see why it would be top 10 on here. They mentioned it being close to Denver, they mentioned the abundant scenic trails. I'm not sure if I'm seeing Trail Ridge Road mentioned in here, which is interesting given the scenic drives being mentioned in a lot of the other parks. And a good point on Emerald Lake Trail here, they are giving some pretty solid advice in most of these parks. I'm enjoying this a lot so far. Number 9 is Arches. Arches is around 15 to 20 for me once again. I understand why a lot of people put it at number 10 or higher, and I'm happy with it being number 9 for sure. Utah's parks are wonderful. And I do like that they mention some of the best stats, like the 2,000 arches in the park, and they list some of the best, so that's wonderful. But now we have to go to number 10, Great Smoky Mountains. So the description of this one, I do like that they mention the size of this one because it's one of the larger ones in the east, actually, besides Everglades, the largest. They mentioned a few specific trails, biodiversity, the fall foliage. This is an accurate and excellent description of Great Smoky Mountains National Park. So the top 10 is done pretty well here. It is relatively generic, but honestly, in the first list you look at when you see top 10 national parks, I think generic is good. If it's the most obvious choices, they probably know what they're saying, and they are giving you choices that would be some of the best national parks to go to. It's obviously subjective for all, but I'm overall quite happy with the top 10. Now, vote to add these destinations to the rankings. Okay, so we got 8 other national parks. I'm not going to really dive into any of these too much, but all I'm going to say is Olympic absolutely deserves to be in the top 10. And all these other ones, while great, Crater Lake is very close, Acadia is pretty close, Hawaii Volcanoes is really close, Sequoia is really close. They're all really close, but particularly Crater Lake, I'd say. I think I will vote to put that one up there. All of these could deserve top 10 if the 10 above them didn't exist, but with the way we have it, I'm totally fine with the list we got, and these 8 parks, I guess get on there and vote for your favorite if you want to see one of those make the top 10 in the future. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below what you think of this list and what your top 10 national parks are. Subscribe for more national park content. I'll see you next time.